Misty Valley Cooperative presents When We Were Gone Astray. The paths of the world twist and turn, taking you to unexpected places. Welcome to the haunted town of Assembly, and to the strange lands around it. The days are growing shorter and the nights are chill. So put another log on the fire. Find a comfortable chair. Sit back, relax, listen. Chapter 13. The South Stars at His Feet. Lamps dimmed, then flared again in the hollow dark. Fletch and Silver sat and watched the still form on the cot at the end of the underground room. The low curve of the brick ceiling made Fletch feel imprisoned, but in the thick shadows cast by the glow of the lamps, the room's extent remained ambiguous. He tried to imagine that the walls were farther away, opening to limitless spaces. He searched for his other self, for the flicker of thought so nearly like his own. He called softly, but heard no answer. Not even the echo of his own voice. Silver shot a glance at him, an unspoken question. Fletch only shook his head. He had never felt so alone. He looked up, continuing his search. Beyond the low ceiling, beyond the church's deserted rooms and towering walls, the lamps flared like stars, like silver sparks in a cloud of smoke with the moon beyond. Just before nightfall, he and Silver had parked 3 blocks to the south to avoid notice, and then he had followed Silver through the back streets to the empty church where the others were waiting. They had cut through a vacant lot, hedged by a wooden fence on which notices had been tacked or stapled. Billy Graham, New Textile Hall, March 3rd through 14th, all seats free. Fletch remembered stopping momentarily, startled. Just above his head, he had seen a yellow postcard with an image of a merry black man, robed and crowned, carrying a chunk of coal. Regal coal bought now will carry summer into winter. Barrow Ice and Coal Company, Winder, Georgia. A gate in the fence opened onto a path of gray dust and blackened stone. The path climbed through the rubble of a ruined building, and it looked dangerous. "Why are we going this way?" Fletch whispered. "There's hardly anyone on the street." Silver was grim. "I don't trust Crowther Wills, that's why." "Is that why Betsy made us take him out here, so far away?" "I think so," said Silver. "Forby had the place ready. He thought you might need somewhere to hide." Fletch bent and pulled something free from a heap of ashes and charred wood, a teapot without a bottom, the hinged lid still attached. Heat had melted the silver away, leaving only the base metal behind, but he could make out the pattern of leaves and flowers. "Maybe there were houses here," he said, "before the other buildings." Silver nodded. Ahead, the church was now in view. Mark's station wagon was parked near an alley leading to a side entrance. "They're probably inside already," said Silver. Another car passed, pausing at the traffic light before turning onto Broad Street. Fletch and Silver kept still until it passed. Then they crossed the street to meet the others. Now, in the silence of the dim space, they scarcely knew what to do. Fletch scanned the curve of the ceiling. "Is this the hall at the end of the world?" Their parents had offered to stay, but Fletch and Silver had sent them home. Forby had insisted on coming back in an hour to relieve them. "You need to be with your folks tonight," he told them. "I can take care of him here." He had picked up Crowther Will's hat, turning it over and looking at the patch sewn inside the crown, before placing it gently at the foot of the cot. "We just need a little time," Silver had told them. "All right," Mark nodded, and he and Liz had gone. The little room was silent, the air close and still. Fletch and Silver admired the furniture. They looked at the wooden milk crate with its stack of books. They wondered aloud about the architecture of the old brick. Everything they said seemed false and hollow. At last Fletch went to the cot and sat on the floor beside it. He put out a tentative hand and touched Fletch's face. "He's cold." Silver nodded. "He looks small. Am I really that small?" "You're not very big." "I miss him, Silver. I want him back." "So do I." "I know you loved him, Silver." Something sharp flashed in Silver's eyes. At first, Fletch thought it was anger, and then he saw that it was pain. "I don't know what I would have done if it had been you." "What do you mean?" "That's what I thought had happened at first, out there in the cold. I thought it was you." Silver dragged his sleeve across his eyes. "I still thought it was you, even when I gave him to Mark. I didn't realize. Oh, Silver. I did love him, Fletch. He was the most wonderful thing I'd ever seen. But you're mine." Fletch had never seen Silver cry before, and it wounded him. Instantly he was on his feet, moving toward Silver, drawing him into an embrace. He kissed his cheek, kissed the tears streaming from his eyes, tried to still his shuddering, and in that terrible moment he wondered how he would ever be able to tell him the truth. Keeping watch. Night had fallen in the upper world. Forby sat in the rocking chair, watching by lamplight. Hours had passed. The air was close and still, the underground room silent, except for the creaking of his chair. He had sent the boys home, and there was nothing more to accomplish, nothing to do but wait. He wondered if Fletch's body would decay, or if it were caught in some kind of stasis. Now and then he stood to stretch his legs, and to bend and look at the motionless face, as pale as alabaster. "I cut his hair," he thought, "only just this Friday, and now he lies so still. When life vanishes, where does it go? Maybe it just disappears, like twilight fading at nightfall. That would be fine for an old man, but not for a boy." He remembered that Betsy had preserved Fletch from death once before, but understood that this was a different matter altogether. Forby read by lamplight for another hour, until a scent of rain came through the ventilation shaft. A knock sounded on the metal hatch at the tunnel entrance. It creaked open, and his daughter called to him. "Cornbread coming down." Forby went to meet her. He took the basket and helped her down the ladder. "How come you never told me about this place?" Ellie asked. "I'd most forgotten it. Hadn't been down here since I was a boy." She looked around the room. "You the one put all this stuff down here?" "Pretty much. It was my bolt hole when things got rough upstairs." Ellie studied the old brickwork. "What was it? Some kind of cellar?" "It's older than the church. There was a farm here once, with brick barns, or so I was told. Must have been the middle of the 1800s. "Slavery days," she shivered. "Yes, indeed." She looked over at the cot. "What do you do down here? Just watch him?" "I've been reading, and I found an old church hymnal. I sing to him a bit." "You think he hears you?" Forby shook his head. "I doubt it, but it keeps me occupied." He saw the look in Ellie's eyes, her thin film of anger masking depths of love and pity and concern. "All right, then," she said shortly. "Give it here." She took the book her father handed her, and went to stand beside the cot. She flipped the pages until she found a hymn she knew. Forby eased himself into the wooden chair and closed his eyes as his daughter began to sing. Changeling. At his office on Rowan Street, Doc Merritt listened carefully to Fletch's heartbeat. "I can't detect anything amiss," he said. "I think you're going to stick with us." The boy seemed downcast, but that was understandable. Doc tried to cheer him up. "The best thing you can do now is go home and get some sleep. Why don't you spend some time doing something you enjoy tomorrow? I'll send a note to the school." Fletch glanced up at him, and Doc was startled by the look in his eyes. It was the look of someone haunted and hopeless, on the edge of despair. "What's wrong?" he asked gently. Fletch leaned back in the chair. His body drooped as if the last of his energy had been depleted. "I'm the wrong one," he said simply. "The wrong one?" "The wrong Fletch. It was your Fletch who died, the one who belonged here. And now Dad and Silver—" His voice trailed off. "I see," Doc said quietly. "Have you told them?" Fletch glanced toward the door to the front room, where his father and Silver were waiting. "No, I tried to tell Silver earlier, but he's hurting so much. I tried, but I just couldn't." "Would you like me to tell him?" "No, I have to do it, and I have to tell Dad." Doc was silent for a while. At last he spoke. "Fletch, there's something you need to understand. You're not a different person from the Fletch who died. You're not someone else who doesn't belong." "But I am," Fletch countered. "I don't belong here. Can't you see how it will be for them, looking at me and knowing that the one they really loved is gone? I may look the same, I may feel the same, but I'm not the one they want." "I understand," Doc said. "You think you're a changeling." "That's exactly what I am." "Fletch, the world can be a strange place, but it tends to follow trustworthy patterns. I know your father, and I know Silver. It will be hard for them at first, but they'll see you for who you are and love you." "Don't you see, Doc?" Fletch persisted. "It will be even worse if they do, because sooner or later, I'm going to disappear." When We Were Gone Astray is produced by Misty Valley Cooperative. It is the second book of The Forked Ways. The text and audiobook are copyright 2021 by Beau Farr. All rights reserved.